Well, guys, it looks like the fight between the ANC National Chair GWEDE MANTASHE and the ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji is still raging after the ANC Youth League's demands of 50% representation within our government structures. So this is the fight basically between the ANC Youth League and the ANC National Chair. The ANC Youth League is saying that we want 50% of young people in parliament, we want 50% of young people in our ministers, we want 50% of everything that has to do with our government structures. And the ANC National Chair GWEDE MANTASHE, whom I believe is speaking on behalf of the African National Congress, is saying that, man, the ANC is not going to have it. You guys are losing all the campuses to the EFF student commands, and you are not focusing on that. You are fighting us for government positions instead of fighting the economic freedom fighters student commands there on campuses. Man, these guys are making sure that the EFF is more relevant to young people in this country. You are losing that fight. You are losing the fight of relevancy between you and the African and the economic freedom fighters, but you are focusing on us. You want us to retire. You want 70-year-olds to retire. Man, how dare you? Do you want a 70-year-old to retire her seat in parliament for a 25-year-old? How dare you? You want a 80-year-old man to retire his parliamentary seat for a 30-year-old woman. Man, we are not having it. As the African National Congress, we are not having it. You guys, you're supposed to make sure that young people in this country follow the African National Congress Youth League. You're supposed to make sure that all the campuses in South Africa are run by the ANC Youth League, and you are losing all of those, and you are fighting us for government positions. Man, the ANC is not going to have it. That's what GWEDE MANTASHE is saying to these guys. That's what GWEDE MANTASHE is saying to these guys. You are losing. You are not relevant to young people in this country right now. There's absolutely nothing that you are doing to make yourselves relevant in the lives of young people right now, and you are fighting us for government positions. How dare you, man? How dare you? You know, when we are 70-year-olds, man, we are young in parliament and government. We are young. If I'm a minister and I'm 80 years old, you know that I'm young. I am GWEDE MANTASHE, man. I'm 80 years old. I'm the Minister of Mineral Resources, and I'm also the ANC National Chair. I'm young. I'm still fresh. How dare you ask me to sit and to step aside and allow a 30-year-old man with bright mind and bright future to determine the future of this political party? We are the determiners, if that's the word. We determine the future of the African National Congress. I ain't going.
We're very clear. We're not going to accept any less than 50% of young people in parliament and legislature. Parliament is not a retirement village.
Well, it seems like it is. It seems like it is, man. Over 80% of your people there in the African National Congress. I can bet that over 80% of the people in the African National Congress are over 50, man, or over 70. I can bet, man. Between 60 and 65, I can bet.
We're going to use the 50% of the older remain. We'll use them for wisdom, but we don't need to have 80% of them in parliament. If it means we get to 70, we'll be very happy. But we're not saying that we're kicking them out, but we're saying that majority must be us because the future belongs to us. You can't say we're planning an agenda 2050, but that agenda is planned by somebody 70 years.
Exactly, man. The guy is telling the truth. The guy is telling the truth, man. I really have to be honest right here with you guys. I honestly believe, or I honestly agree with Collen Malatji on this stuff that he's saying, that young people, man, should be on the forefront. Young people, man, should be there in the government. Young people should be there in parliament learning how these things work. I completely agree with him, but there's one thing that I don't agree with Collen Malatji on. Is this vehicle of the African National Congress. As much as I believe that young people should be on the forefront, I don't believe that young people should be on the forefront under the vehicle of the African National Congress. I don't believe so. I don't disagree with what he's saying, man. I honestly agree with him, especially with this whole thing of the agendas, of the Agenda 2050s, Agenda 2070s, Agenda 2090s, man. Why are we allowing the 70-year-olds to determine our future? Young people in this country, man, they are sleeping. This is why I'm so upset at young people in this country, because we are sleeping. How can we sit back and allow 70-year-olds to determine our future? Man, these people are talking about the Agenda 2050, but they will not be there in 2050. They are talking about Agenda 2070. They will not be there in 2070. But chances are many of us will still be there in 2050, in 2070. We will be there. So how can we allow a situation where 70-year-olds are talking about Agenda 2090, Agenda 2080? Like, how can we accept that? It is unacceptable. These people, man, they had their own 30 years. They had their own 30 years from 1994 to 2024. They've had their own 30 years to determine their own agenda. They were young back then in 1994. No one could fight them back then. Man, they were young. Some of these guys, most of these guys that we see in our government, we see in parliament, most of them, they were young 30 years back. But the problem is that they got old. They got old, man. 30 years is not a child's play. They got old. But they're still talking about Agenda 2070. How does that make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. So I agree with you, man, on these things that you are saying, but I don't agree with the vehicle of the African National Congress, man. I don't believe that the ANC is the right vehicle for young people. I don't believe so.
You will not be there to account for all of those issues. We need to take responsibility of our own future. And this leadership is not apologetic about that. It's going to happen. The executive will be us. And everything that has to do with the power of this country, young people will be in the forefront of driving that agenda. And that is, we want to be the voice to make sure we represent that interest.
Man, like I said, man, I completely agree with them. Honestly, I completely agree with Collen Malatji on that. I agree with him that young people, man, should be on the forefront when it comes to this whole thing. I believe him, man. But the vehicle, man, I have the problem with the vehicle, man. I don't believe that the ANC is the right vehicle. I think the ANC is too broken, man, for young people to take over right now. I think all of those old people in the African National Congress, man, they have a lot to lose. If young people were to just get in and push 50% of them out, they have a lot to lose. I'm not surprised why they are fighting tooth and nail when it comes to this whole thing of 50% representation. It is no brainer, man. Everyone has been saying that. Everyone has been saying that, guys, we are watching these people on national television. These people are sleeping on the job. They are sleeping. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still battling with the flu, man. These guys are sleeping there in parliament. And we can watch them on national television. And we are saying, put young people there, man. Make sure that young people are there learning how parliament works, pushing the legislators that are going to benefit the young people. But GWEDE MANTASHE is saying, no. No, you can't have that, man. You can't. You can't. Some of them we can make ministers.
Deputy ministers.
Some we can make deputy ministers. And in that process, we can guide them. This whole thing of theirs saying that they want 50%, it's nice. It's nice and it's easy here. And they know exactly that it is not going to happen. Right now, he's addressing the ANC Youth League president. He's telling him that, man, maybe we can take some of you, then we can make ministers, we can make deputy ministers, we can guide you in that whole process. But this whole thing of 50% is not going to happen. We can take maybe 10 or 5 of you guys there, make ministers or deputy ministers, but 50% is not going to work. We are not going to allow that. We are still young. I'm 70-year-old. I'm young. They know it will never happen. If they knew what they wanted would happen,
there will be young people.
There will be young people that we put in government. So he's telling you straight up that, man, if we believed in what you are saying, man, we would have started with this whole process already. And the fact that we are not starting with this process, it shows you that we are not on the same mandate with you guys there at the ANC Youth League. If we believed in the same ideas as you, we would have started the process already.
There will be young people as there will be young people as well.
There will be young people that we put as MECs and young people we put as GMs. and so forth, and so on and so forth.
But the long term about 50% pie in the sky.
And this whole thing of theirs of 50% is up there in the sky. They want 50% in the ANC in governance, man. That whole thing is in the sky. It will never happen. It will never happen. The ANC National Chairman is telling you guys that stop annoying us. Stop annoying the old people within the African National Congress. Stop annoying us. Stop telling us about 50% of representation. It will never happen. It will never happen, man. Just imagine if we have to sacrifice all of those mayoral seats, if we have to sacrifice all of those. Oh, for once there's service delivery, guys. I can see a rubbish truck is moving past my house. For once there's service delivery. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to see this rubbish truck, guys. Because these guys, man, they don't do this, man. This is why our communities are filled with garbage all over, man. Our communities have turned into illegal dumpings, man, because these guys, they don't come to do their work, and I'm happy today that they came to do their work, man. So shout out to our mayor there, man. So the national chair is telling you guys that, man, it's not going to happen, man. Stop annoying us. We are the ones who are supposed to spearhead the idea of 2050. We are supposed to spearhead the agenda 2070. We've only had 30 years, man. You have to understand that those 30 years, everything that happened in South Africa in those past 30 years is the fault of apartheid. That's what the ANC has been saying. Everything is the fault of apartheid. So whatever I'm saying right now, it is not controversial, and I hope that people don't make it controversial, because that's what the ANC has been saying. For the past 30 years, everything that happened in this country, it is not the fault of the African National Congress, it's the fault of apartheid. So we are only beginning. If you thought that these 30 years was our governance, man, you haven't seen a thing. We are only getting started. Man, oh man, oh man.
ANC National Chairperson GWEDE MANTASHE has pushed back at the demand for 50% youth representation in Parliament and councils made by the Youth League. Under the leadership of Collen Malatji, the ANC Youth League has been calling for more younger MPs to be deployed. MANTASHE has called on the Youth League to instead focus on campaigning. We speak to ANC Youth League President Collen Malatji on this. Collen, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So speaking at the ANC's 2019 manifesto review in the Eastern Cape, the chairperson of the ANC says 50% is pie in the sky, and that will not happen.
Oh, pie in the sky, it is not in the sky. Oh, it's a pie in the sky, all right.
Collen, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Can you repeat that?
Right. According to the chairperson of the ANC, GWEDE MANTASHE, no doubt you would have seen the videos that are widely circulating also on social media. He says that 50% is pie in the sky. You may be included, but 50% not really.
Look, our mobilization is for 50% or more of youth to be in Parliament. And we are for generational mix because you need a bit of those with experience.
And man, you can see that this guy one day this guy is going to be the president of ANC. I'm telling you, this Collen Malatji guy is going to be the president of ANC. Thomas, why do you say that, man? Look at his nose, man. This nose is the same as Ramaphosa's nose. He's going to be the president of the ANC in the future. I'm telling you. Fact.
Myself and the national chair. I knew members of Parliament who have got the same similar experience in Parliament. He might be old by age, but our experience is the same in Parliament. We all arrived at the same time in 2019. Now, age does not always mean that people have got experience. But when I was saying 50%, I said 50% of youth must come in so that they build a measure experience from those that have been there before the other 50%. Now, there is no fight. It's a consensus piece. The mood of the country, the mood of the youth, and everyone that is in charge with the ground knows that very well. And the ANC as an organization is pro-youth. Now,
but is he telling the truth by saying that the ANC as an organization is pro-youth? Is the ANC pro-youth, man? How can you say that when 60% of young people in this country are not working? That statement doesn't make sense because the ANC is in charge. And South Africa right now has the highest number of unemployment, man. So how is the ANC pro-youth when the young people in this country are the ones who are suffering from this whole mess of the African National Congress, man? They are suffering than any demographic in the country. Young people, man, I'm telling you, from 18 to 35, these people are suffering in this country. These guys are not working. Most of these guys are qualified, but they are not working, and they are able to work. So how is the ANC pro-youth? And what is it that the ANC is doing to convince us that they are pro-youth, man? What is it that they are doing to convince young people in this country that as an organization we are pro-youth? Because I like that statement is wild to make. To say that the ANC is pro-youth, it is not. Young people in this country are suffering, man. Young people in this country are suffering. You cannot say that the ANC is pro-youth. You cannot do that. Maybe you want, maybe the version of the African National Congress you want is the version of the African National Congress that is pro-youth. But it doesn't mean that currently the African National Congress that we have is pro-youth. It is not.
We will meet with the National Chair to understand what he meant. I don't think he is prepared to go against the mood of the country.
He says that he's going to meet with the National Chair to understand what he meant, man. Hey, National Chair, you're about to confront the National Chair. Be careful, man. Man, just be careful. These guys might Julius Malema you. They might Julius Malema you.
And maybe you'll explain himself when we meet this weekend on what does it mean that the youth can't be in charge of the country, because the youth must define their own part of this country. The youth must be in all corridors of power. It can't be that young people don't become policymakers in a country where there's high level of unemployment. Now, the ANC as an organization is a caring organization. It's an organization that cares for the youth of this country. And I know the ANC, the organization that I belong to, would push for the youth to be in parliament.
You mentioned that there are no fights. Does this suggest, as you go into your meeting with him on the weekend, that there's a difference in ideas, or there's ageism at play, or it's a little bit of both?
Look, it's natural that the old will feel a bit threatened sometimes when there's a strong voice that says young people must take. For a very long time, there have not been a strong voice in the country. And young people now are really hyped up, associating themselves with the Youth League and the ANC, because they feel that their voice is now in the right place. That's why we want to understand what did it mean, because the organization that it belongs to as a national chair is a pro-youth organization. It believes that young people must take over. Now, we'll fit with him to get an understanding, and also we'll request him to apologize on some of the statements that he made on issues of how, when he spoke about the GPV issues, when he said that the only way to discipline women is through sexual intercourse, that we feel that those views don't represent what the ANC stands for. And we'll request him to throw that, because the ANC is anti any rape culture or rape self-naming. Because when you say women are disciplined through sex, that must also be explained. What does that mean? Now, those are some of the statements that were made and which are unfortunate. But I know the ANC as an organization does not stand for such things, and the Youth League will call out anyone that misrepresents policies of the ANC and what the ANC stands for.
The median age in South Africa is 27. The average age of cabinet ministers in South Africa is 61, with the eldest being 74, a member of the African National Congress. What do you say to young people who say yourselves, as an organization, as the Youth League, are being treated as children? And so what is it that then the everyday South Africa can expect when such is playing itself out in the ANC?
Look, those days are gone of people utilizing parliament and executive responsibilities as a retirement village. The Youth League has made out its voice. 150% of youth representation. It can't be right that there's no one in cabinet who's below 35 years who's a minister. And we're clear that we also want ministries in the economic cluster, because we want to be drivers of the economy. We engaged the president on it, and he agreed that in the next cabinet there's going to be young people included, but also saying that it must be done urgently towards the elections, so that the young people of the country can see the ANC cares about bringing the youth to take over this country, because the youth are the future of this country, and we're the present ones who are in charge of the country. Now, it can't be that majority of the population is sidelined from activities of power. Now, we are looking very hard. For a very long time, there's not been a strong voice of the youth in the ANC and in the country. And now it's here, and everyone is feeling it. That's why every platform, people speak about the youth league, even the opposition. Every time the HRVs speak about the youth league, because the youth voice, the real youth voice is back, and there will be change in this country. And it's only the ANC that will implement that change. And we've met the president, and the president agrees that the change must happen urgently.
So guys, man, what are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts? Because I honestly agree, man, with Collen Malatji when he says that young people, man, should be on the forefront. I completely agree with him. I just don't agree that the ANC is the vehicle, because I believe that the ANC is too broken. I believe that the ANC is beyond repair, man. I don't believe that young people should be basing their hopes on the African National Congress, man. I think 20 years from now, the ANC will not have a good name in South Africa right now, because of the mess that they have done for the past 30 years, man. Because these things that they have done, the fact that we no longer have the roads, we no longer have the infrastructure, we no longer have the hospitals that we used to pride ourselves in, man. You know, as communities, we have hospitals within our communities, and these hospitals, man, we used to pride ourselves in these hospitals. But today, if you go to any of our hospitals within our townships, man, it's a mess. You can't even go there, man. Some people are even choosing to die at home instead of going to the hospital, because they don't trust they don't trust our hospitals, and they don't see the need to go to our hospitals, man. We don't have the borders. Our communities are filled with illegal immigrants. Children are being fed drugs. There are no jobs. Young people are turning into drunkards and into drug addicts, man. There's a lot that is happening right now in South Africa, and I believe that young people are the ones who have the solutions to all of these things that are happening today. But I don't believe that we can drive those solutions under the banner of the African National Congress, because the ANC right now is too broken, man. So please, guys, tell me what are your thoughts on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.